So if you're looking over the CRM market, you might be hearing the same sentence time and time again, which is build, buy, configure. But in all honesty, does it make sense to you? What we'll be going through today in this video is examples of build, buy, configure, so then you can have an informed judgment of what really makes sense for your business. So the reason why I know about build, buy, and configure is I've spent the last 5 years within the CRM market working with a variety of different industries to help each one of them figure out the right process for their business. So going through this video with build, buy, configure, there's going to be some clear examples of what each process actually means and how that could benefit you. If we were to be starting with build, that would be on the process of building a system entirely from scratch. Nowadays, these could be through LLM tools, or you could be going for a complete custom development. Or the final option, buy. Of course, buy is where you're buying a solution directly off the market and running that within your business from day one. 9 times out of 10, most people go down the route of configure, but why is that? Configure is the main solution to help hit the ground running. You're using a off-the-shelf platform, but configuring that to help tailor to your needs. As ultimately, if you're running a marketing-centric CRM, your business might not be able to fit in everything out of the box. So you need to have those elements of customization to work for you. Where configure ends up being the predominant approach, you've still got the question of, is the build versus buy segment still valid? Especially with the changing markets of using systems like Claude and other LLM tools to build that process. Is that making things quicker? But also on the other hand, is it efficient enough? Personally, I would say configure is still the overarching approach because the build versus buy has always been quite a heavy argument dependent on what route you want to go down. But the question is, when you're discussing the build versus buy scenario and if it's still relevant, it can be a bit of a tricky one. The problem is where most people are buying those platforms and just letting it run by itself, those are the sort of systems that aren't getting enough adoption and they end up running stale and the directors end up wasting money for a platform that is not being used. But realistically, the question is, what should you actually be asking when you're having these conversations? A platform should never come into play when you're having this chat. The process should be outlining your requirements and the workflow that you need within your business. Ultimately, the right CRM platform needs to be working for every department and not just the ones that want a system to run by itself. So the position in one line is, if you are wanting to assess what process makes sense, you need to be thinking about the end goal of your platform instead of what you need from an initial approach. But whilst we discuss on that, you also got to think, when you're going through these scenarios, how could each play the wrong way? When we're discussing the buy scenario, yes, you're going to think it's the quicker approach because that platform is there and you can jump straight into it. But then realistically, as your business evolves and progresses, you're starting to see gaps if it's the increase in price, if it's the adoption of your team because not everyone has been onboarded through that process. And then you hit that stalemate on, as a long-term product, has this been the right call? When you're going down the build scenario, building from the ground up, you might want to think on this side of, I can build a foundation level and expand the system from there. That really depends on if that member of staff is staying within the business, because if they go, who's going to support that platform? This also means when you're going down the security elements of your business, when clients are needing to be added into the system, is it secure enough? These are the sort of questions that most people don't really think about until it's too late. Now, when you think of the downside of a configure approach, this can also depend on who have you brought in to help configure this system. Are you configuring it all internally? Or are you bringing in a implementation partner to help configure this? Because if you don't find the right people, this is where the system does not become sticky enough and user adoption fails. So what you do need to think about is it just one big wrong decision? The answer is no. When you're evolving this platform, you can always take a bit of a step back. That does not mean you have to start from the ground up, but it's implementing the right practices, the right strategies, and also the right people to help remold that platform to benefit the business. And when you're thinking about that one big wrong decision, there are so many caveats that come into that. Are you building the platform that's capable of being maintained? Are you also building this platform which can be easily adopted within the system? When you're building from the ground up, is it secure enough? Has it been tested? Because if you have a data leak, it's going to come back on you. So it's not all doom and gloom in these scenarios. When you're thinking about this process, you also need to think about what that ideal scenario looks like. And sometimes it can be a mix of the three. When you're buying that solution off the shelf, it's got some of that core functionality there. So it saves having to do a lot of the build work you were initially doing. Once you have that, you are then being able to configure and tailor this system more to your needs. But also having that right platform in place allows you to build new custom sections that maybe your business needs that others don't. Having a platform that can kind of give you that happy medium of the three gives you, one, a lot more ownership in the platform. Two, gives a lot more of employee engagement. They feel the system is more theirs. And three, it's more easily adaptable. It's having a solution there that evolves as your business does. When you are trying to set up this happy medium, of course, one thing you definitely don't want to do is reinvent the wheel. When a lot of these out-of-the-box solutions have pipeline management, account management already there, why build it more specific to you? What you then can do is tailor those sections to more fit your needs. Ideally, what the right solution can give you is a product that you buy that's off the shelf, that allows you to configure to the needs of your business. But that real main element is allowing you to build additional sections on top of that pre-existing platform. And it gives you that more ideal scenario of what your business actually needs. So where we've been having this conversation at the moment, we've been discussing the build, buy, and configure segment. But the real question is, how does AI affect this approach? Now, when you're building a system from scratch, people are using those AI tools to build the segment from the ground up, which can work as a quick scenario, but in the long run, is it really sufficient? Now, I also know the out-of-the-box solutions allow connectors into AI. So the real question is, how does AI fit around this process? AI can be used to build an entire system from the ground up, but long term, is that really sufficient? If you've already got a product that's out of the box, you could be using their own AI tools to manipulate data through reports or searches. Or sometimes you can be using these LLM tools to help you through configuration. This can speed up those new feature requests that may be required, but you've also got to think about the safety needs of your customers' data. So where we're talking about configuration, a lot of those processes are through low-code, no-code tools. Institutes like Gartner are saying the low-code development market by 2029 is going to be increasing to $58 billion. Now, as those systems are going to be evolving and changing, low code will probably start to disappear, and it's those no code tools that start to shine a bit brighter. So in all honesty, what does a sensible end state look like? For most businesses, it's a configured platform that's been implementing no-code or low-code solutions and has the ability to have new features built upon it. So what you should be focusing on is buying a strong configurable platform and leaving the rest as standard and trying to build as little as possible. But the real question is that the right mix for you? So when you're going through this process, how do you actually decide what solution is the right one for you? The questions we would typically get our clients to be thinking of are, what in our process is genuinely unique and what is just standard? Where do we actually win, and does that CRM touch that? What do we need to own, the data and the process logic, or the software itself? Can a configurable platform get us most of the way without a custom build? What is the real cost over 3 to 5 years, including integrations, migrations, license and maintenance, and in all honesty, not just year one? Do we have the capacity and the discipline to maintain whatever we configure or build? And finally, what happens to our changes at the next platform upgrade? So if your answers are mainly revenue focused, then buy and like configure. If your answers are more about what makes you different, then configure deeply. and only build if configuration is not getting you the answers that you need. And after all of that, if you're still unsure of what the right one could be for you, the safest bet is to go through configure. The question is building ever the right call? Sometimes it can be, dependent on your niche. So when you're looking at the answers to these questions, if your processes are standard, then you're going to be more looking at buy. If your processes differ from your chosen platform, then configure could be an option, and only build when nothing configurable gets you there. If you're weighing up build, buy, or configure for your CRM, the first step is not to shortlist the products. It's to work out what your business actually needs to own and where you generally differentiate. Collier Pickard can help you map that. Decide where standard is good enough, where configuration earns its keep, and where occasionally a custom build is justified. That is not a conversation, not a pitch. Start with the 7 questions.